All right, well, I'm going to get us started. I'm going to give us a little introduction to Pandion like I usually do in case there's anybody new here who haven't been introduced to our organization yet. So I'm Jordan Stobie. I'm the executive director for Pandion Music Foundation. Anai Cruz Batista is here as well, who's the program director. And then I just mentioned Chris is here. She's our PR rep. And we are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit that provides community and skill building opportunities for music creators in Los Angeles and beyond to cultivate long-lasting lives in music. We run these workshops every week on Wednesdays. The time varies. Usually it's 11 a.m. Pacific time or 3 p.m. Pacific time. And we run the workshops across a wide range of topics with different guests every week. And we are very proud to be able to offer these opportunities for free for anyone who has access to Zoom. And yeah, we're really happy you're here with us today for a music supervisor meet and greet, which is always a great opportunity to network. And we're really honing in on community building this year. So trying to foster a really beautiful community of all of our creators here who can collaborate with each other, meet each other, and support each other with free resources and collaboration opportunities. Um, so Alec Stern, we're so excited to have you back. We had you on for a workshop a little while ago. I can't even remember when that was now. But we're happy to have you again for another workshop. Just to give a little background on Alec, he is the head of ads for Radish Music and also a music supervisor. The campaigns he's led have achieved wide recognition, including Cannes Lions Grand Prix, Grand Clio, and Emmy for Outstanding Commercial, and most recently a win for the Best Music Supervision for Advertising Sync at the 2025 Guild of Music Supervisors Awards. His company Radish has led music efforts for brands such as Apple, Visa, Adobe, Cadillac, and Uber Eats, created full-scale music strategies for clients such as Walmart, Miller Lite, Sonic, and Kellogg's, supervised two South by Southwest audience award-winning films, Monkey Man and The Fallout, if anyone's familiar with those, and has a slate of high-profile film and TV projects premiering in 2025 on Netflix, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime, and more. So doing a lot of things in the industry, and we're really excited to have a chat today. I encourage everybody to use this opportunity to meet Alec. Come on the screen if you feel comfortable with questions. If you don't feel comfortable coming on the screen, no worries. You can just pop in the chat. But definitely use this time to ask questions that you have. And if they're more specific to your music experience and your journey, that's fine. I think a lot of people can relate to a lot of what other creators are going through. So don't feel hesitant to share those. And great, yeah, we can just go ahead and get started now, Alec. Maybe if you want to give a little bit more of an introduction, how you got into music supervision, what led you to this place where you're at right now.
Yeah, for sure. Great to meet you guys. Big fan of Andy and what you guys do. It's like to get to know all of you here. Yeah, I've been doing this God for maybe 12, I think years, 12, 13 at this point. Um, so where I started was in Chicago. I'm born and raised in Chicago. I live in Los Angeles now, but went to school in Illinois, and my career actually started in composition. I worked for a company called Comma Music in Chicago, where I started as a production intern, and just through curiosity, I began to write on a few jobs. Was just sort of curious. What that would feel like and what skill sets were necessary to write music to picture. And it's something I had always been really fascinated by as a skill and as a creative mindset. And by some happenstance found myself in a company that did that professionally. I'd certainly never thought of it as something for advertising. Anytime I had thought about it, it had always been within the confines of film. But a thing about Chicago is while it doesn't have a super robust film industry, and while it also certainly doesn't have a super robust music industry, like music business infrastructure, um, one industry that it has a tremendous hold on is advertising. There are a lot of really major advertising agencies in Chicago and in the broader Midwest, and a lot of big clients are based in the Midwest and in Chicago. And so it made sense that um, there was an original music company writing music for agencies based in Chicago. I kind of found my way into that world. Um, and so through that, I was working on some composition for them. It was really exciting. It was a really kind of eye-opening experience. Again, this was a world I didn't really know anything about and kind of stumbled my way into a bit. But it was through that experience that a lot of my first clients were folks who worked at advertising agencies. So I was beginning to get a better understanding of how ads worked, what a producer does versus what a creative does, and who the CCO is, and what all the different agencies, all their different kinds of flavors were, and how much time was necessary to, properly write music for an ad, and how much money was typically being spent, and what does union versus non-union mean, and what is SAG, and that was my sort of crash course into a lot of those ideas. Um, and I really loved it. And I was just really, really drawn to the community in this world, and also just the artfulness that I was able to see firsthand of getting a piece of film and really sort of being shocked by. Didn't matter how much they had spent on it, who the director was, what celebrity talent they had gotten to star in it. I I would get these pieces of film and I'd find them to be largely pretty lifeless. Um, but it wasn't until I added, a synth metronome or an acoustic guitar or just some light percussion on it, and all of a sudden I could feel the thing that they were trying to do. All of a sudden, emotion entered the idea. And I found that really kind of intoxicating that as a composer, as somebody who works within the relationship of music with picture, that we're really the ones who bring, a director's visual artist sort of vision to life in kind of an unexpected way. And there's so much power in that. So I was really drawn to this world. I'm a good musician. I'm not like a spectacular musician. And so I wasn't really cut out to necessarily be a composer full time. Um, but I'd gotten my foot in the door enough with various ad agencies in Chicago, that as I was sort of stepping out of the composition world and curious about what I'd do next, there was an agency in Chicago called Leo Burnett, which is one of the biggest agencies in the country, that just by pure happenstance at that time was developing their first ever in-house music department. Most advertising agencies do not have an in-house music supervisor. That's something that they will um, put out to third-party companies. But Leo was investing in their first ever music department at that time, and I happened to know enough people there that I was able to get my foot in the door and get hired as part of that music team. Um, I didn't really know much about music supervision. I didn't really know much about music licensing at that time, and so the arrangement was a bit like, I'll run all of your original music projects if you can teach me how to do supervision and licensing. And so, I was there for a number of years, sort of honed my craft, got to know kind of the ins and outs of what this role entails. A few years after that, I was hired by another big agency in Chicago called DDB. I was their director of music globally for a number of years. Um, I was there from 2018 to the very end of 2021. And it was in that time, COVID had happened, was sort of phasing its way out. I had long had a dream of moving to Los Angeles, and was really sort of curious what might be possible out here, and was approaching a point in my career where I was interested in working in other types of media, aside from ads, namely film, potentially TV. And I was really curious about being part of a smaller, more sort of music centric company versus being the music guy at a giant corporate advertising agency. Um, and so I ended up partnering. with Radish, which had just been established just a year prior to that by a guy named Paymon, who was the former global director of music for Media Arts Lab, which is Apple's dedicated advertising agency. And so, if you think about, you know, the greatest hits of Apple commercials and everything that they did with music, you know, starting maybe 15 years ago, my business partner was largely responsible for those ads. And so the opportunity to partner with him and collaborate on a new company where we were going to be two former directors of music for advertising agencies, now running an independent music supervision company, just felt like a really exciting swing to take. And so we decided to partner together top of 2022. I moved out to Los Angeles about 6 months later. And yeah, the company is small but growing. We're punching well above our weight. We work across ads, film, and TV. I mostly run ads, but do dabble in film and TV a bit as well. And yeah, it's an exciting place to be. We are yeah, we've gotten a few really big projects under our belts. We've won a couple of really great awards. People are starting to toss their names around, and yeah, it's an exciting time for us.
Amazing. Such a cool, someone else said this, such a cool backstory and how you got into supervision. It's always interesting to hear how people kind of get into that field because I feel like a lot
Yeah,
of times I hear it's like, oh, I was doing this thing and I learned about like agency work and stuff, and then you kind of just like climb your way through, and it's about a lot about who you're meeting and who you're working with at the times too that lead you there,
very much.
which is interesting. I'm gonna call on the participants here. Does anybody have questions for Alec about his journey to music supervision? You're welcome to raise your virtual hand or pop it in the chat. I haven't seen any questions yet. I'll give it a second before I jump in. Let's see, does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments? Ken, good to see you, Ken. I'll ask you to unmute.
Hello, always good to see you guys. Hey, Alec, great introduction. Media Arts Lab that you merged with, was that they were in sync also, or that's a different type of a company?
So Media Arts Lab is it's an advertising agency.
Oh, okay.
And
Gotcha.
and they exclusively work on Apple. They're Apple's dedicated agency. And so they do all things marketing, not just music. My business partner now was the global director of music for that agency. So he had a music specific job, but Media Arts Lab is a full scale agency.
Does Radish accept anything outside, like one-stop music? If are you open to receiving music? And if
Oh
so,
yeah, of
what would
course,
it be?
absolutely. That's a huge
Because
part
I
of what we
saw
do.
the. Oh, so how would we get music to you? What's the best way to do that?
I believe Jordan maybe will be accepting music. Well, I'm not
Oh,
sure
Yeah,
exactly what the process is, but
however
yeah,
yeah, if
works.
music
that's
will make its way to me.
yeah,
No
if you
problem.
want to
Thank you.
send, well, I posted this in the chat as well. If anyone has a song they would like to share with Alec, we'll be sharing a disco submission link at the end of the call. So you do have to be here for the whole session today. And then we'll share that link at the end and then share that with Alec. Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Great questions. Marcus?
Uh, yeah, nice to meet you, Alec. Thanks for sharing your journey. It's very inspiring to hear the transition. Um, my question is, what sort of trends are you seeing in the advertising space, and what are sort of so it's two questions. What are the current needs that you and Radish have for the work that you're doing specifically? So the trends and current needs.
So trends are, yeah, I mean the main sort of thing as of late with ads has been really catchy, kind of bouncy, um, confident, swaggery, um, like kind of hip hop adjacent, but with like some mixture of electronic and organic instrumentation, a lot of like pops and like kind of staccato, noises and percussive elements to it. Things that are really cutty, that can like zig and zag in different directions and accent certain moments and be elongated for other moments and things like that. And a lot of just like really catchy, simple, to the point, um, vocals that yeah, just kind of similarly have just like swagger and confidence and excitement and all those sorts of things. There's a lot of artists that are doing that style quite well. Probably the most like famous, I would say, of them is a woman named Callie J, Kali, and then the initial J. She kind of crushes in that space, and a lot of brands are gravitating toward that kind of style that she does quite well. Um, and so yeah, there's definitely like in terms of what's syncable for ads, that's kind of a bit of the boilerplate at the moment. But like whenever there's any sort of a trend, as quickly as that comes, um, there's lots of brands that are like, we want everything other than that because it's become too saturated. So like um, that's how these things go. There's certainly an appetite for it, and lots of brands are very eager to gobble that sound up because it works really well, and it makes ads really stick out and get in and out and get their point across really quickly. And then I've also literally gotten brands from other agencies that are like, we hate this sound. Like, we don't want it. Other brands are into it. We don't want it. It's too saturated. Like, stay away from this. Because they're afraid that if they don't specify that, we'll pitch stuff like that and all those sorts of things. And so it's a bit tough to suggest like, you should be making stuff like this, or you should be doing the exact opposite. If it's something that you have a skill set toward, ultimately, like whatever your best thing is, like whatever the thing that gets you most excited is typically the thing that I would always encourage somebody to do. But yeah, in terms of our company needs, um, a lot of what we get hit up for, I think just based on my own experience and my business partner's experience, we get hit up a lot for like, what's the next sort of thing? Like, we know it's popular right now. We know what other brands are using right now. A lot of times we'll get up by a brand and be like, what's the thing that's going to be the next sound, the thing that everybody's going to want in 6 months, whether that's, a specific song from a specific band that we have our eyes on and are really excited about, or just a style or an instrumental palette or things like that, that is a bit left of center, but with the right sync is going to sort of start a new wave. That's a brief we get quite often. That's a lot of times something that like creatives will desire, and then when they actually hear it, they're like, "Ooh, it's a bit too left of center, like not totally sure about that." And so like, it's tricky. And then other brands are like, "Cool, that's why we hired you guys." So it's a bit all over the place. And so yeah, and in terms of, things that we need, things that we're looking for, we don't work with just a single agency. We don't work with just a single brand or client. We get new briefs in from different angles, every week, just based on the work that's out there. And so our needs are very, very diverse, not to mention the fact that we also do film and TV, which is a very different musical sort of vernacular than ads are. So it's a bit tricky to say these are the things that we need, as long as it's interesting and feels unique and will stick in my brain for one reason or another. Like, that's the thing I'll always need.
Great. That's great answer to those questions. Thank you, Marcus, for those. Before I call you on, and there was another question here from Janet. Before we'll get to this one first. Janet was asking, what ad do you wish you had done? Any ads you love, creative approaches you appreciate?
Um, let's see. I mean, we're very fortunate. The uh the Emmys were announced recently, and they always do one category for ads, for outstanding commercial. It's not music specific; it's just for the ads. But we worked on one of the 5 ads that are nominated for an Emmy this year, which is always a big honor. Um, this will be the second nomination I've gotten for an Emmy. The first one we won, which was for a very famous commercial right at the start of my career called Like a Girl from P&G, which is a really, really famous ad campaign. But yeah, we worked on an Uber Eats spot called Brian Cox Goes to College. It's very funny. And so I'm thinking of the other ads in the category, and they're tremendous. There's one in particular, it's an Apple ad, um, all about like privacy and surveillance. And it's really, really smart, and like takes all of these like security cameras that are all over urban areas, and it turns them basically into like hawks that are like following people around. It's remarkably well shot. It's beautifully edited. The coloring is amazing, and the piece of music on it is spectacular and just like really, really fucking unique, and totally stands out in the way that, Apple is kind of always leading that conversation. Um, yeah, that's the one that I've seen recently that's like, shit, I wish I had gotten to work on that one. But yeah, there's lots of really great work being done now. I've also worked on a couple of spots recently where um, we have thrown out similarly kind of left of center, crazy, interesting, wild, holy shit ideas musically, and they didn't land, and I see what they ended up with, and it's very safe or very tame by comparison. So it's rare to have a brand and a client that willing to go outside the box. We always try to be. We'd rather throw out those ideas and not get the job than throw out something safe and win it. Um, so that's just kind of our style. So it takes a lot for me to hear something that I'm like, shit, I don't even know what that is. But I want to be doing stuff like that. But that Apple ad's one of them.
Amazing. I really respect that you prioritized the music and what you believe in rather than getting the job. Okay, let's go through. We've got some hands up. Thank you guys for all your questions. Einen, I'm gonna unmute you now.
Hi, I am a more traditional songwriter and have been said I'm old school, and I do a lot of comparisons in my music between the human element and nature. Do you think
Hmm.
that is something that's ever going to come around
Oh
as
yeah, for
being
sure. Yeah,
so?
I'm sorry, Kat.
I just wanted to find out if you knew of any particular places that might take that kind of music now.
It's a bit, it's a bit all over the place. So, for example, a really good example is we do a lot of work for the car brand Genesis, which typically I think we've done maybe 3 or 4 ads for them at this point. Every brief we've gotten has been a lot of things I've kind of been talking about, which is like super forward looking, edgy, interesting, gritty. What's the next sound? We want that. We want to know what the next great bedroom producer is cooking up, sort of a thing, like big, bombastic, interesting. We've done tons of ads like that. And then we just did an ad that I think just came out maybe 2 or 3 days ago, about a little girl, like um, playing like tug of war basically with a rainbow, and like trying to like harness the
Mhm.
power of a rainbow. Um, And it has something to do with, there's like a really cool like light feature in the car, and it's this little girl who's like dreaming based off of the lights that's happening in the car. But it's this really beautiful, sweet, really human oriented story. There's like not a lot of car, there's like very little like car footage. It's like very much a human story. Um, and they had brought it to us, and they had as a temp track on it, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Couldn't afford it, couldn't afford anything even close to it. And so we were tasked with finding something that was fairly inexpensive, but captured that same sort of old school, romantic, whimsical singer-songwriter sort of thing. Um, and so, yeah, that was like a total 180 from all of the other work that we've done for this particular brand. But that's just what the specific spot was calling for. And so it's difficult for me to say that there's like one particular place
Yeah.
that any kind of specific style or genre or approach really works for, because typically, brands like to tell different kinds of stories, and those different kinds of stories need different kinds of music. Not to mention something that's going to work in an ad, or something that maybe won't work typically for your typical ad might be perfect for a television promo, or might be perfect for the scene in an indie film or whatever it is. Um, and so it's hard to really know where your thing is ultimately going to live best. So the important thing is making it and putting it out. And whether it's you doing it yourself or working with sync rep or somebody who's going to be able to put your music in as many capable hands of supervisors and showrunners and directors and things like that as possible. But yeah, making the thing and getting it out and doing it again and doing it again, that's kind of the only trick here.
And I didn't quite get the name of what organization gets it out there. I
Oh
didn't
no,
hear
just
what
like
you
I mean, like
said.
having like a sync representative. Yeah,
Oh, a
there's
sync.
I didn't
Okay.
mention any particular. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
of
Thanks,
course.
Erin.
Good
Good
question.
question. Yeah, good question. I think you're not alone there. There's a lot of other artists working still in kind of the retro, if you want to call it retro, fields of music. But yeah,
Hmm.
I think I've heard of a lot of artists finding success with that still. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, Tanya, question from you.
Hello, thank you, Alec, for coming and sharing with us. I am Tanya Rogers. I am a singer, songwriter, vocal producer, and I do that sassy swagger rap that you talked about, the Cali J style. But I
Oh
also
yeah.
work with other artists who I pitch for, I collaborate with and pitch for. So I'm wondering, one of my artists is a country rap that new urban, she's kind of pop soul, country, all mixed up together. And there were a lot of briefs coming out at one point. They were looking for like the Shabuzi style of
Hmm.
songs. Is that something that you have ever used, or is it still trending? You think? Because I can only recall seeing one ad that had that type of song in it. So is it something that is trending in ads as well, or is it just in TV and film?
Um, I think, um, yeah, country was not heavily utilized in ads for quite some time. Um, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was interesting because I think a lot of brands maybe felt that it was just a bit too regional, a bit too specific, and there's so much evidence that does not support that opinion. But I do think that things are changing. I think that you have people like Shabuzi and even, even Post Malone and obviously Beyonce and those folks who obviously those are very specific artists making specific types of country, but ultimately what they are doing is they're opening the aperture of what country is, not just the kinds of person that makes country, but the people who listen to country. Um,
Right.
and showcasing this genre as really sort of the cultural force that many of us have known that it has been for a long time. And so, yeah, I mean, people say that, advertising is at best 6 months behind general culture. It's usually a bit even longer of a lag than that in terms of tastes and things like that. But no, I think that there's been no better time than the present for that to take shape. That wouldn't surprise me at all. The last time I let myself be surprised by a trend, I thought that I really thought that there was no way that there was going to be an embrace with brands to the early, really sort of dark, gothic, textural production style of that like first couple of Billie Eilish records. But I was massively wrong on that. About 6 to 8 months after Bad Guy and those first couple of singles came out, like brands were very much flocking to that sound. And so there's nothing like a Shabuzi or a Cowboy Carter winning album of the year or a take your pick to sort of open the floodgates culturally for a brand to walk through.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Great question. Amanda, I'm going to bring you on now.
How you doing? It's great to see Jordan again after all these months.
Good to see you.
Nice to meet you, Alec. All the way
Nice to
in
meet you.
sunny California, looking pretty warm over there, although it's winter, isn't it? Oh no, we have winter here, so you're summer there.
Right.
I'm in New Zealand. Yeah, no, I was actually sharing some synchronicity actually, which is what I do because my music name's AJ Celeste, so it's about the Celestine prophecy. If you get synchronicity with people, I like to share it, which is just really funny. It's just going to be a little random statement, but I didn't catch the Apple ad that you're talking about that did really well, or has it not been created? Sorry, I missed the kind of context, but I know that you said you wanted to work on the project.
I think somebody put it in the chat. It's called Flock.
Flock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. And you replied.
It's in there.
I see. Someone has replied. Sorry, I've just been doing sweet. Yeah, so it was really funny. I just looked on your site and I saw the power of she, that ad that you created. It's pretty beautiful, eh? It's so like empowering and it's really nice. And it was funny when I was younger, I was 14. One of my friends, she was like a poet, and she wrote this poem about me, and it was called She, and she said, you are this person, she. And I thought that was really funny. And then someone else we went to school with has a synchronicity of the name of that artist, but also I'm a dancer, and I just thought, what an incredible piece for you to create some music for. Did you compose that from the start, like get someone to compose it from the start of that one, or did they compose for it?
Oh no, so Power of She, it's an Athleta commercial. That's the one that we won the Guild Award for this year.
Yes.
No, so that's an existing piece of music. It's a song called Oral by Bjork and Rosalia.
Oh wow, someone's likened me to Bjork as an artist. Isn't that funny? God. So it's Synchronicity Day. Well, no, that's really great. Hey, I appreciate you being here and sharing your information with us all. You look like you're in a nice backyard with a tree behind you. And that rainbow, the little girl with the rainbow, I thought that was just absolutely beautiful what you're doing, what was created with that little ad. It sounds like you're working on some really nice kind of heartwarming pieces within your company. Just cool. Yeah. So look, I want to send you a song, but I have to fly in around 10 minutes. So Jordan, what's the best way for me to do that? Can I just put it in the link as a disco and you edit that way, or can I send it to you by email or?
Yeah, just send me a message afterwards and
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Amanda.
And yeah, thank you. Keep doing the good work, both of you in the world, and thank you so much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you too.
All right. You too. Thanks.
All right, great. I'm gonna get over to Mike here, who has a question. Mike said they do a lot of harmonies and try to keep them from being too wordy, etc., so they could blend in and paint a picture. Is that to you, Alec, do you think that would be a good syncable musical tool that you would recommend?
Yeah, that feels great. Yeah, simplicity tends to be key. Harmonies are great, just to add more texture and intrigue, and yeah, all of that. That all feels like the right recipe.
Great. Yeah, it's a good idea to do that, Mike. Good on you for doing it. Helen, how do you get on a brief list? Asking as someone who works as a sync licensing coordinator at an artist management firm.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So Helen was asking how you get on a brief list. So how you'd get access to those briefs as somebody who is working at an artist management firm in sync licensing.
So yeah, some supervisors have brief lists. We don't really utilize those as much. Yeah, I mean, typically, ads tend to move quite quickly. And so, a lot of what we are doing is, my team and I, we're combing through as much, new and old music minute to minute, day to day as we possibly can. We're also cataloging, every time that we do a search, we are, organizing it and cataloging it as best we can, just in the event that anything we have gone through for one search might be applicable to something in the future. That ends up happening a lot. And, going through, as many new music emails as we possibly can. We get a whole lot of them every day. And so, yeah, we really try and do as much as we possibly can to just arm ourselves with as much music and information as we possibly can for whatever brief comes our way, knowing that the turnaround time is typically quite quick. That said, if the ask is for something quite specific, and there is a label or publishing company or sync representative or artist management company that we have personal relationships with and knowledge that they do a particular thing quite well, and we've heard examples of that. It's sort of in those cases that we will reach out to somebody on more of a specific basis, but we'll typically want to have, like, in our minds, categorized that company or whatever it is they do as having this certain thing or these few different types of things, and really high quality. And so, yeah, and to get to that space is typically, us having received a sampler, or liking a song and being curious where it came from and finding our way back to you guys. So yeah, lots of different ways that can happen. But it really, starts with typically us getting a feel for what the company is capable of and what kind of roster that they have. And if it leaves an impression on us and we find ourselves with a brief of something that's in need of something similar, we'll know that that's a good resource for us.
Amazing. Great. Yeah, it's nice to hear from the other side as well, people in our community who are working in the sync world and not as an artist, but yeah, it's great to hear that as well. Tanya was asking, or it was, yeah, she said, collaborated with my daughter to make a replacement song for Jungle's Back on 74. Are you ever on the hunt for replacement songs like that?
Yes, I would say there's probably no there's probably no band that I have received more creatives or producers talking about as something that they like and are interested in, something similar to that, than Jungle. They have done phenomenally well in sync. Yeah, the first time I have knowledge and memory of hearing a song in my career and being like, if there's such thing as a sync song, this is a sync song, but it's so good and cool that it feels like it almost is that way by happenstance rather than them trying. Was Jungle's Busy Earning off their first record. And that song is still getting licensed today. And their most recent record is I've seen probably close to 15 ad placements over the last year and a half. So that is a very, very relevant current sort of touchstone. And so that's a really good thought to be, if that's within your wheelhouse and skill set, is sort of mining that aesthetic. I think that's really interesting. Anderson Paak is kind of a similarly adjacent kind of style, funk, jazz, disco, analog instrumentation, very clean, harmonies and just like kind of lush, good feeling, good vibe energy. That's like highly composed, sounds immaculate. I think that's a trend, for lack of a better word, that has some real staying power. So that's a really, really good thought.
That's great to know. That's amazing that they've done so well in the sync world.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, what would be the main kind of thing about, is it that natural ability that you were talking about for them? You think that is the thing that really got them so successful in sync, just their ability to make a song syncable, but also
I mean,
authentic at the same time?
honestly, from my perspective, the music's great. The music's really great. I mean, anything that like, I have a lot of success. Aside from being a music supervisor and being a musician, I'm also a DJ, like a vinyl DJ. And I find that things that work for me in like a vinyl DJ set at like 10 o'clock at a bar tend to do well in sync. Nothing like, I'm not playing like crazy in your face bangers, but like I'm setting a mood, I'm setting a vibe, I'm trying to get people to like move a little bit, inspire conversation, and just be like people inhabiting a space that's like, ooh, this is a good vibe. Like that idea is ultimately pretty similar to how a brand wants to communicate through an ad, is to inhabit a space as a consumer in their communication and go like, oh, this is a cool vibe, I like this. That's a great place for a brand to be, and like music has the power to do that. And so yeah, it's not, I don't think it's strange that I always have a jungle record with me when I'm out DJing, because it just kind of moves the room. And I'm also not surprised that like Khruangbin has done quite well with sync, because that's a similar kind of thing. Like it just moves a room. But with Jungle, it's also really interesting in that their music videos are also really, really well put together. They're all like highly choreographed, really stylish, beautiful people. And they're just like kind of a vibe, and they're very consistent. And so Jungle almost has established, in a way, sort of their own brand through the marriage of music and visual. And I think through that, there's already, people who work in advertising have already sort of seen that result in magic. Like, great song, great video, something I can't stop thinking about. Like, they've done that already through their own art. And so there's not as much of a leap for people to be like, oh, I wonder if this song would work in my commercial, because like they've already established that they make really compelling stuff that works really well with visual. The electronic band, The Blaze, kind of similar thing. There's lots of bands who have started sort of inhabiting that space a little bit, and tend to do quite well.
Great. Yeah, that's good for people to think about and look into. I think I saw Jen saying that she was looking at Jungle and like kind of breaking apart the songs. It's a good technique to look at
Yeah.
other bands.
Yeah.
They're doing really well in sync, and see what their strategies are. Marcus asked, do you have a need for foreign language music? And if so, what foreign languages and what style?
Great question. I love pitching foreign language music. Especially, yeah, I mean, in some cases there is a like specific ask for it. I've done a couple, typically, there might be like a Spanish language version of an ad that we do, in which case they'll want a Spanish language song. Or yeah, I mean, that's kind of the only example where that might be specifically spelled out. We'll sometimes get briefs where they will be like, we're open to other languages. I think as long as like the song isn't like necessarily trying to like tell a story lyrically, and it's more like the the vocal is like an additional interesting instrument texture to the thing through repetition, through the performance style, through just like literally the timbre and like sound of what the words are. um that tends to work quite well. Like, I love nothing more than throwing wild card ideas out when I'm submitting music, and I will very often throw out, foreign language stuff as like my wild card ideas of just like, let's think about this in a completely different way and like really have this ad stick out. And having a foreign language, thinking about like somebody's watching television and their show is on break and it cuts to commercial, and it's one commercial and it's whatever, and it's another commercial, it's whatever. And then this commercial comes on and all of a sudden, it's a city pop song uh, with Cantonese vocals or whatever. And like all of a sudden, like the ad just sticks out and it's like, whoa, what was that? And so I'm often in favor of doing things like that. I love pitching like Francois Hardy songs and other, old kind of French music and things like that. So I love it. It's certainly more specific of a need. It's a bit harder to place. It takes a brand uh loving the aesthetic of the song so much that it's like, okay, cool. Like, even if the lyric isn't exactly what the thing is about or whatever it is, like it's just such a vibe, we can't escape it. So it does take something quite specific, and it takes creatives and a brand being a bit brave and stepping out of their comfort zone, typically. But it's probably my favorite thing to pitch personally.
Cool. Yeah, that's interesting because it would take away a whole like huge aspect of a song if the people don't speak the language that it's in, then they
Right.
don't have those lyrics to go off of. So, and then listeners as well, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Um, Robbie's asking again about like retro style music. They were saying, is it worth it to submit songs that were recorded recently but have a bit of a retro sound, for ads specifically, even though pop seems to be prevalent in ads right now?
For sure. I would consider, we were just talking about Jungle. I think Jungle's aesthetic, their whole thing is it sounds very like they're using microphones that, you know, stopped being in production in 1979 or whatever, and use analog amplifiers, and like it's all very warm, textural, analog, old school sort of vibe. So yeah, there's definitely an openness and an aesthetic for that. Um, yeah, I a lot of brands aside from music want to be seen in their category, as being modern and contemporary and like future looking and those sorts of things. Like a lot of brands and their like the way that they portray themselves culturally like to think of themselves as of the moment. And um but there is a certain human quality that comes from more vintage sounding or actually vintage music that can add a layer of humanity on top of a piece of storytelling that is also really um, effective for brands to land maybe a more human sentiment. Um, so I wouldn't say that there's one that carries more weight than the other in the space. Again, it really sort of depends on the story that's being told. Um, and the work that we've done for Genesis, I think, is a really good example of that. I obviously I don't work for the agency that does their work. I obviously don't work for that brand, but I absolutely would have expected that they certainly consider themselves to be a brand of the moment and a brand of the future. And, they then probably realized that they were in desire of telling a really human story, and the musical framework that they have sort of wrapped around themselves in as a brand wasn't going to fit this very human story. And so they needed to peel things back. They needed to go back to basics and, utilize a human voice with an acoustic guitar and something that felt a bit old school. But that just cuts through everything else in a way that contemporary production and pop aesthetics and those things just can never quite do. So yeah, it's all open game.
Great. Amazing. Thank you so much for all the just like really thoughtful answers to these questions and detailed. Everyone really appreciates that, I'm sure. I don't see, did I miss any questions? And I think we got through everything. If anybody has, did we miss one?
No, I think we got through everything.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, if anyone has any lingering questions or something that comes up later this week, we are going to have an Ask Me Anything thread up on our Facebook group, our Creator Circle. So if you want to post the question there, we can get that answered for you. Are going to be announcing our August workshops tomorrow, so stay tuned on our website and our socials for that. I can't believe we're already at the end of July. That is so crazy to me. But yeah, we're excited for more workshops next month. So stay tuned. And you can follow us on our socials if you haven't already. Everything's Pandion Music Foundation. And I'm sure it'll be easy to find us. And I think that's about it. Thank you again, Alec, for everything. And thank you all for posing for our photo today and for asking your amazing questions. It really helps for you all to come on screen and get that engagement with our supervisors and our guests. So appreciate you being vulnerable and doing that. Yeah, thank you so much again, Alec. And then I think, and
Appreciate you
we
guys.
need to drop, oh yeah, you dropped the song
Yes, so I was
submission link in there as well. Great.
I did drop the song submission link. I'm seeing that some folks are having trouble copying the link. So I
Oh.
just went ahead and added our hello email in the chat as well. So if you're having issues, just email us and we could verify that you were in today's workshop and we'll send you that link over in case, yeah, it seems like the chat is giving us a bit of issues. But that's okay. Just send us an email. But we hope anyone else was able to copy that link. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you again. Thank you, Jordan, for hosting.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, everybody. Thanks, Annie.
Appreciate
Thanks.
y'all.
Thanks,
Everyone.
Alec. Stay in touch. Talk soon.
Bye guys. Be
Bye.
well.